Hey, what time zone are we in now? Back in the Eastern time zone now? Thanks, Mr. Snerdley. Gee, what a whirlwind tour we were on. Whoa, man, what a great weekend it was, too, and an end of the week. Greetings, my friends, and welcome to the Rush Limbaugh program. This, the EIB network, and broadcast excellence, as you know, synonymous with my name. That's why we call this the Excellence in Broadcasting Network, and we're glad to have you with us. We kick off a brand new week of broadcast excellence. Telephone number 1-800-282-2882. I'm gonna talk about it a little bit, Mr. Snerdley. Yeah. First off, let me begin here by once again issuing a very sincere and heartfelt thank you to all the people at KFBK Sacramento during their 75th anniversary for hosting us last week. A lot of people gave up their own space and offices in order to make way for us. A lot of people got up a lot earlier than they normally do to make our lives function as normally as they otherwise do. And there were just so much fun involved in that trip last week. We ought to do more of it. It was a tremendous trip, and I want to thank again everybody involved. I don't have time to mention the names, but suffice it to say that those involved know who they are, and they should be quite confident in the fact that we sincerely thank them for everything that we did. After we finished in Sacramento, we flew down to Bakersfield, California, Saturday morning, the Bakersfield Business Conference. This is an annual affair, and it gets bigger and bigger. They pitched this huge tent, and they put, this past Saturday, they had 14,000 people inside this tent. They had all shown up to hear a day-long roster of speakers, including the likes of me, Larry King, who went long and had to be dragged off the stage by Jack Kemp. Mario Cuomo was supposed to be there, but he got sick. So Larry decided to act like a liberal and balance the thing out and went a little bit long. Jack Kemp went out there and actually got him in sort of an arm lock or a headlock and dragged him off stage. It was all, of course, in good fun. But Jack Kemp, of course, wanted to say some things, and King was eating into his time. What they did, they didn't subtract from Kemp or anybody else. The schedule just got pushed back the 15 or 20 minutes that Larry King had diarrhea of the mouth and went over. I met some people there that I had not met, and that was fun. General Schwarzkopf, who preceded me on the agenda, he was at 1:45. I was scheduled at 2:15. I went in at 2:35. Because, again, Larry King went long. It was good to see President and Mrs. Bush again. They followed me. I met backstage waiting to go on, and somebody I've just thrilled as I all get out to meet, Rocky Bleier of the Pittsburgh Steelers. He was there. He's a motivational speaker now, and he was a late addition to the roster of speakers. Quite a few late additions to the roster of speakers. Dave Barry, the humor columnist, syndicated nationwide, working out of Miami, the Miami Herald, and not met him before. And so it was a lot of fun. It really was. Now, I was there last in 1990, and the speakers get 30 minutes. And they start, you get a green light when you get out there, and that starts the clock. The yellow light means you've got 5 minutes, and red means stop. And when I was out there in 1990, and I don't want to go through the details of what happened because it's old news now. I think I told the story back then anyway. But I got the hook in, I'm convinced it was 10 or 15 minutes. I know, and I never saw a yellow light. So I know I got the hook. And I've been invited back every year since. And I said, this is weird. I can't believe that they'd want me back out there given what happened. And what happened, by the way, was nothing. I mean, I didn't start anything. I just responded to some stuff that happened before I even spoke. But they've invited me every year, and finally this year, I relented on a whim. Had I stopped to consider it for any serious length of time, I wouldn't have gone. But I just, on a whim, accepted it. And it was this was the first time since the GOPEC speech which coming up on 2 years now that I have gone out and actually made a public appearance of this sort. And I'll tell you what, they also ask this of the speakers, those speakers who have written books. They ask them to go out there and if they will sign books. And if the speakers agree that they will sign books, then the Bakersfield Business Conference people go out, get some books, and put them on sale at the conference so that people buy them and then can get them signed. And I agreed to do that. And I went over there and signed books first. Since everybody was running late, I decided to sign the books first. And they let people know. They've got television screens scattered throughout the crowd of 14,000 people. And what they do, they run a crawl across the screen saying so-and-so is signing books now at the Stars and Stripes tent. Because that's where I was. They call it the Stars and Stripes tent because we're all patriots at the Bakersfield Business Conference. So I went over there, sat there. Here came a throng of people. I began to feel a little sorry for General Schwarzkopf because people had to leave that tent in order to come over and sign books. And the line, from what I'm told, was just way, way on outside the Stars and Stripes tent. We tried to sign as many as I could. And if you were in the line and I didn't look up, I mean, I was just signing to get as many people through the line as possible. But I tell you what, it was a lot of fun. It was, and I went into it a lot of apprehension, I'll tell you, because of what had happened in 1990. I wasn't sure what was going to happen this time around, but it was just as much fun as was the 2 previous days in Sacramento. And I also was asked before we went out there by C-SPAN for permission to record the speech and then broadcast it. And I guess all of the speakers were asked that, and I naturally granted permission. I have no idea when, if at all, that will be shown. If it may have even been shown now, I just don't know. But all the people at the Bakersfield Business Conference were. There was one funny thing I got to tell you. When you arrive, they take you in and ask you to sign a bunch of programs for sponsors and officials of the organizing committee for this conference. They ask you to sign your name to your picture and a little biography that's in a big program everybody gets. And then they ask you to sign a waiver that says they can use video of your performance from now until global warming ends the planet. And they may even take your first 2 kids. You know what those waivers are like. You can just here, we want to use this, and if you want to go out there and you want to speak, you got to sign the waiver. You sign the waiver. And answering questions, do you want to meet the media? I said no. The media story is already written. No matter what I say here, no matter what the crowd reaction is, I know the story. I don't want to waste time with the media. That's where I got in trouble last time. So keep me away from the press. I don't want to be anywhere near them. I don't want to even see a press truck. I don't want to see a TV truck. I don't want to say, so okay, we get the point. Questions like that, and I met everybody in the trailer, where this is called a VIP trailer, where they take all the speakers and get them set up. You mic, or you get mic'd, and basically they ask you if you want a cup of coffee or anything. And I went over and signed the books. I came back from signing books just in time to speak, and they had me back in the VIP trailer, and it was at that moment that President and Mrs. Bush were arriving. They were just driving into the complex. And so they had not given me one of these all-access passes that everybody gets. Secret Service was there because the president was there. And one of the people in the VIP trailer, whom I had spoken to when I arrived, came up to me and said, "Sir, I'm sorry, but you don't have an all-access pass. You're going to have to leave. The President of the United States is due here soon, and you can't be here without a pass." And I said, "Oh, all right, fine." Because I when authority speaks, I follow orders. I obey commands. I hear Secret Service. I hear you're got to get out of here. Fine, scram. And then somebody walked up to her and said, "No, it's okay. Here, they're supposed to be here," and gave me a pass, and I held it in my hand. In about 5 minutes, the President of the United States and Mrs. Bush walk in, And the president comes over and says, "Hey, Rush, how are you?" We had a little conversation. He was shaking hands and talking to a whole bunch of people. And had a nice conversation about what he's been doing and mutual people that we know, mutual friends. And then he went on and spoke to some other people. Rich Little was with him. Rich Little came up and said, "You know, I can imitate you." I said, "You can?" He said, "Yeah." And he started to imitate me. And you never hear yourself, I guess, the way other people do. So I don't know whether it was a good impersonation of me or not. But he was imitating me to my face. Well, I was flattered. At least he was trying. Then this woman who had tried to kick me out of the trailer came up and apologized profusely. "I didn't know who you were. I'm so sorry. I feel so embarrassed. I didn't know. I didn't kick you. Don't worry about it." I said, "You were just doing your job. It's no problem. I'm no problem whatsoever." Anyway, went out and did the speech. And I'll tell you, that's amazing. When you stand up there, you look out, 14,000 people inside a huge tent. That tent is so big, it takes them 2 months to put it up. Because I asked, this is not something you do the morning of the event, getting ready for the circus to come to town. And although some people, I'm sure, might think this was a circus, I assure you it wasn't. But that was a great crowd of people out there. They were just tremendous. And those of you who were listening to the program, who were in the crowd, thank you so much. You were very warm. Those of you came and stood in line for the book signing. Enjoyed meeting all of you. And it was a thrill to get out there again, be in front of the people, and get people fired up with things that we all feel passionate about and care about. So thanks to everybody. Bakersfield Business Conference was a highlight, as was the trip back home, my adopted home to Sacramento, California. When we come back, by the way, I can't leave out some of the other speakers. Paul Harvey was there. Help me out here, HR. Who else am I forgetting? I got some of the afternoon speakers because I saw Schwarzkopf. Oh, yeah. Dick Armey and Billy Tauzin took their road show, their flat tax versus sales tax debate. They followed me. And they were not there yet when I finished. When I was splitting the scene, getting out of there. Also, the guys at the tower at Bakersfield International Airport. When we landed, the flight attendant came back and said, "Mr. Limbaugh, you have been invited to the tower if you'd like to." And I didn't get a chance to get up to the tower at Bakersfield International. I had to get out because I stopped in Cape Girardeau on the way back. My mom's birthday is tomorrow, October 13th. And so my brother and I planned just a little get-together on Saturday night and Sunday, and I had to get there because by the time I left, I didn't get in there till 9 or 9:30 Central Time. Time zone confusion once again. So I didn't have a chance to get up to the tower at Bakersfield International. I want to thank them very much for extending the invite. When we come back, ladies and gentlemen, some amazing things said on national television yesterday by Uncle Bob, official barrister for the President of the United States. There's a plethora of things out. There's huge Paula Jones news, which is sort of tied in, and that can have a double entendre sort of meeting now. With the Uncle Bob appearance on Slay the Nation yesterday. We've got campaign finance stuff. I know most Americans don't care about it, but I know you do. And the job here, by the way, is not to figure out what it is you care about and then talk about it. Otherwise, we'd still be talking about Princess Di, Lady Di. These things, I got a note today from a 19-year-old listener, very considerate. "Rush, you know, I'm a big fan of yours. I'm very loyal. I listen to your show all the time. You spend so much time talking about Washington and politics, and you got to understand America doesn't care about that anymore." Today's October 13th? That's right. I keep thinking it's Sunday. Wait, that's right, because October 15th is Wednesday, and it's a full moon, and I base my life around the full moon. I do base my life around the full moon. For reasons, it's because I love seeing it. It's beautiful. That's all. Not because I think it makes people weird. No. I always know when the full moon is. And I know what time of night it comes up, too. And I know it for years in advance. That's how I know it. That's why, at any rate, this is October. So, Mom, happy birthday. I forgot. No, I've already wished her happy birthday. I already gave her a present anyway. She knows. But at any rate, this guy sends this note, says, we don't care about Washington politics anymore. That stuff, we care about the culture. We care about cultural decay. And I think it's all intertwined. You see, that's the point. I think it's all, how can you say, wait till you hear what Uncle Bob said on Slay the Nation and not conclude that it is all part of the cultural decline that is occurring in this country. I will explain simply by letting you listen to what Uncle Bob has to say. We'll take a break and be back with all of this and more in just a moment.
You're listening to the EIB Network. Time for opinions and analysis of the news with Tom Tretta.
As longtime listeners like you already know, I have very little patience with Ellen DeGeneres, who somewhere along the line got the mistaken notion that more than 4 people in the USA are interested in her sex life. Up until last season, the ABC comedy Ellen was what most comedies attempt to be, funny. But Ellen, overthinking that seemingly simple concept, decided that she would now use her former comedy for the most long, drawn-out, boring, and annoying coming-out party in the history of network television. I'm gay, Ellen finally said, as if we cared. But with that out of the way, most of us who used to like Ellen hoped the show could then get back to the purpose most comedies are on TV for. Again, that's not to further gay rights, and it's not to make lesbianism more accepted. No, the purpose is to be funny. But no, we got show after show after show of Ellen's parents having to deal with her being gay, not funny. Ellen's boss at By the Book having to deal with her being gay, still not funny. And Spence, Paige, Joe, and Audrey having to deal with Ellen being gay, not funny. This year, Ellen decided to further push the gay and not funny envelope with episodes dealing with her kissing other women, among other things. So ABC TV has decided to add an on-screen advisory declaring the show has adult content and warning parents to use discretion in allowing children to watch it. Now, that seems sensible enough, at least to parents like me, but not to Ellen. This is blatant discrimination, she charged last week, attacking the network that until now has allowed this increasingly boring person to wallow in self-indulgent infomercials for lesbianism, which, surprise Ellen, are going nowhere in the ratings. Now, Ellen says, just because she's gay, she's being singled out. And ABC has just upped the ante by announcing they're going to preempt the October 22nd episode of Ellen, supposedly because of it being opposite the World Series on NBC that night. Now, to add insult to injury from Ellen's standpoint, they're replacing Ellen that night with an episode of Dharma and Greg in which a woman is in love with a man. Oh, no, not that. All this falls under the heading of the chickens coming home to roost for ABC. And some of you may recall my prediction that ABC would live to regret their capitulation to Ellen's idea for a bold new concept, the unfunny comedy. I predicted they would have but 2 alternatives: allow Ellen to become increasingly gay, or else regain control of their own network and risk being called blatant gay bashers. So this morning, to Michael Eisner, whose Walt Disney Company both produces Ellen and owns ABC TV, I happily say, welcome to the real world, smart guy. For Daybreak USA, I'm Tom Tretta.
mellow seal bump music here to get us started. Greetings, my friends. The all-knowing Maharishi, and to the phones we go. And I'm going to go to the phones now because there's so precious few moments left. We've got a Paula Jones update coming up. Our theme song will be Your Cheatin' Part. Not enough time to do that now. Instead, here's Marie in Bakersfield, California. Hi, Marie.
Hi. Hey, you did a good job.
Thank you very much. You were there then.
Yes, and you do a lot better impression of President Clinton than Rich Little.
You know, I got a call on Friday from a woman who said she was going to be at the Bakersfield Business Conference. Would you please do your Clinton impersonation? And I hadn't planned on doing it, but it just happened to come out there, and 2 or 3 times. So I'm glad to hear that you liked it.
Yeah, I told the people at our table, I said, wait till Rich gets out here. He'll do a lot better than Rich did.
Well, thank you very much.
You bet.
I didn't hear Rich Little, and frankly, you know, people ask me to do this Clinton impersonation, and it's not that good. I mean, a lot of people do better. I mean, how about Shanklin? Shanklin's Clinton is the best. Shanklin is Clinton. Shanklin's better than Clinton. And of course, Shanklin wasn't at the Bakersfield Business Conference. You know, something I wanted to do, you can't do this out there, but I wanted to take the Ted Kennedy video, or audio. Well, I could have taken video out there, had these big screens, and asked the audience if they could possibly, if anybody knows, it's a quest now for 3 years. We've all been trying to figure out just what did he say. I knew that would have gotten a laugh. Speaking of Ted Kennedy, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know if you heard about this or not. Boston Magazine is reporting that John and his wife, Carolyn Bissett Kennedy, had a heated exchange last summer en route to Martha's Vineyard. They were on a puddle jumper commuter airline. Why would you do, if you are John Kennedy, why would you get on a commuter puddle jumper? To be one with the people? I guess. Anyway, they were having a fight. And apparently what Carolyn Bissett Kennedy said to him is, well, he said to her, he said, well, then, why don't we just get divorced? And she said, oh, no. We waited for your mother to die to get married, and we're going to wait for my mother to die to get a divorce. And I have, could have Uncle Ted drive her home one night and roll the dice. Let's see. Here's Samuel in Easton, Maryland. Samuel, welcome to the program. Nice to have you with us.
Very nice to speak to you, Mr. Limbaugh.
Thank
Negative,
you.
Conservative, self-employed dittos from the eastern shore of Maryland.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, I want to tell you, and I want to thank you. I want to thank President Reagan. I want to thank President Bush for everyone doing what they have to do to stand up. They know what's right for this country. And I just want to thank you. I listen every day, won't miss it. And I wish I could have been in Bakersfield to hear you.
Well, you're very kind.
Next time I get up to Manhattan, I would do anything to hear you debate, to hear you speak, just to be in your presence.
Well, that's awfully kind. The guards at the building do take bribes.
Okay. Any suggestions?
Just kidding. Now, look, and I'm going to get in huge trouble. You tell them I was just kidding when I said that. I'm telling you now I was just kidding. That's awfully kind. In fact, I spoke about that at Bakersfield. I spoke about people. So, you know, you can broaden your audience if you just not be so stridently conservative. I spoke about that, and you have confirmed that I said the right thing, Samuel. Thanks very much. We'll be back in just a second, folks, with a Paula Jones update. Don't go away.
AFRTS News, Navy Chief Dave Evans reporting from Washington. Here's a 2-minute look around the services. The Army has announced its first digitized divisions. Digital communication systems, new weapons systems, and other equipment are on their way to 3 Army divisions. The 4th Infantry Division at Fort Hood, Texas, already has much of the equipment. It's expected to be fully digitized by the year 2000. Other divisions slated to become digitized are the 1st Cavalry Division, also at Fort Hood, and the 3rd Infantry Division based at Fort Stewart, Georgia. The Air Force is conducting a worldwide survey of its active duty and civilian members. The survey questions cover two basic areas: the service's organizational climate and the quality of life provided to Air Force members. Officials say responses will be confidential and will help shape decisions affecting the Air Force's future. The Marine Corps now has one organization focused on improving the quality of life for Marines and their families. The Corps' Morale, Welfare, and Recreation Support Activity and its Human Resources Division are joining forces. The merger will combine MWR with a wide range of quality of life programs. Officials say that will increase efficiency while providing better services to Marines and their families. And the Navy has named its best bachelor housing operations. The Admiral Elmo Zumwalt Award is given out each year to the facilities that provide the best permanent party and transient accommodations, as well as the best customer service. 3 of this year's 5 winners are in Japan, at Naval Security Group activity in Misawa, Fleet Activities Yokosuka, and Naval Air Facility Atsugi. The other winners were in Annapolis, Maryland, and Panama City, Florida. And that's our report. For the Department of Defense, I'm Navy Chief Dave Evans at the AFRTS News Center in Washington.
This is Earth and Sky with one of the most common questions asked by our listeners.
It goes something like this. My town sometimes issues an ozone alert to tell us there's too much ozone in the air. But environmentalists say there's an ozone depletion. How can there be not enough ozone and too much at the same time?
The ozone depletion people talk about is in the stratosphere. That's an upper layer of Earth's atmosphere, starting about as high up as long-distance commercial aircraft fly. Stratospheric ozone is a renewable resource. It's constantly being produced and destroyed by interactions involving sunlight. Stratospheric ozone helps protect life on Earth from harmful ultraviolet rays of the sun. Scientists have measured a decrease in this high-altitude ozone, and in recent years they've tracked the extent and duration of the annual ozone hole over Antarctica.
But at the same time, some cities are laboring under an abundance of ozone. It's part of what makes up urban smog, originally found mostly near cities in the northern hemisphere, but now shown in satellite images to be in rural areas too. Near the surface of Earth in what's called the troposphere, ozone is pollution, and this sort of pollution is widespread in the lower atmosphere. Scientists suspect there's no truly clean air left anywhere in the northern hemisphere.
Send your Earth or Sky question to info@earthsky.com. We're Block and Bird for Earth and Sky.
And now, another edition of Behind the Scenes at the Clinton White House. Today, Bill checks in with his personal attorney.
Hey, Counselor Bob, how are we doing on the Paula thing? See, new evidence? Oh, really? No, I didn't know they could get fingerprints off skin. I guess come on, man, don't do that to me. No more kidding around. Did Bill put you up to that? They want what? They want a picture of what? Look, Bob, she doesn't even know if I got an innie or an outie. I mean, tattoo? Well, lots of kids back at Oxford had hammer and sickle tattoos, but I mean, I don't like it when you're laughing, Bob. Come on, be serious now.
Join us next week for another edition of Behind the Scenes at the Clinton White House.
Executing assigned host duties flawlessly. Cheating parts about Uncle Bob on TV yesterday.
Your cheating part will make you pay. Distinctive marks give you away. Your cheating parts with certainty. You don't deny that it occurred. You only say your memory's blurred. Your exhibit A is gonna be Bill Clinton's shining legacy.
You are listening to the EIB Network, the Rush Limbaugh program. This is an EIB Network exclusive, Your Cheatin' Part by Paul Silhan. Coming soon, Uncle Bob on Slay the Nation yesterday discussing, well, just wait and hear.
Uncle Bob can talk all day, but the bare facts ain't gonna change. Your cheating part will make you pay. Distinctive marks give you away. 'Cause Paula says she can ID your cheating parts with certainty. You'll bite your lip. How will it feel when your smoking gun has been revealed? Your cheating parts like DNA or fingerprints give you away.
I don't know. Well, I don't know. You want to do that. I mean, it could be a problem. So Paula Jones has this affidavit, and in this affidavit, she alleges distinguishing characteristics about the private parts of the President of the United States. And so yesterday on CBS Slay the Nation, Gloria Borger asked Uncle Bob, because Uncle Bob says her affidavit is a sham, and Gloria Borger said, well, why, Uncle Bob, is her affidavit a sham?
On October 3rd, the president underwent a thorough physical examination. At the press conference following that examination, Dr. Kevin O'Connell was present. And had any member of the press asked him about it, what Dr. O'Connell would have said is that on thorough examination, there is absolutely no unique characteristics of any kind, that in terms of, and this is awful to even have to discuss this, but the plaintiff has forced this on us, in terms of size, shape, direction, whatever the devious mind wants to concoct. The president is a normal man. In addition, there was a thorough dermatological examination. There are no blemishes, there are no moles, there are no growths.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. The president is a normal man. Now let's go through what Uncle Bob said. Uncle Bob said, in terms of, well, he actually said the plaintiff has forced this upon us. So he could have said the plaintiff has thrust this upon us. In terms of size, shape, and here comes the word direction, or whatever the devious mind wants to concoct. That's an interesting word there, direction? Well, I mean, there aren't too many directions you could be talking about here. That's right. You got up, down, you got left, right. You could have diagonal derivations of each, but I mean, So Cookie Gleason's putting this together today, and she comes in and she says, you know, this is just sick. I just cannot believe that we're talking about this in regards to the President of the United States. And I said, why? This is to me is no surprise at all. This is the level to which the presidency has sunk under this administration. It is only being discussed because he is the president. He is the person about whom these kinds of things are alleged frequently, not just out of the blue, not just off the wall. I mean, nobody cared, for example, about Richard Nixon's private parts. Nobody cared about Jimmy Carter's private parts or Reagan's or Bush's. Nobody cared. Now, they might have cared to an extent back in 1960 about JFK's private parts, but that was the soccer mom contingent back in its infancy. But aside from that, and certainly not in the same way that there is this concern here, I think it's all part of the general debasement of some of the highest leadership positions in this country that has been brought about by this whole crowd from Arkansas storming into Washington, D.C. In a related story, U.S. News and World Report has reported last week, well, it's actually in this week's edition, that she believes the president's denial involving Paula Jones, but she wanted him to settle the lawsuit anyway to avoid any further embarrassment. But the president said, no, I will have none of it. I am an innocent man. I didn't do it, and I'm going to go forward with it. Now, apparently today, the latest is that they've tried as hard as they can to settle this thing. Both sides are saying no settlement. It looks like the trial is going to continue, will happen. It's scheduled for May. Bob Schieffer on Slay the Nation yesterday asked Uncle Bob, why does she want to go to trial, do you think? And this is Uncle Bob's answer.
Look, this is a marketing plan, Bob and Gloria. This is a marketing plan. They want to go to trial for two reasons. One reason they want to go to trial is they want to embarrass and humiliate the president, and they figure they can do it even if they lose the case. Secondly, they've made the decision, I'm confident, that she is more marketable after a circus-like trial.
And that's the official White House or Uncle Bob reason for explanation for Paula Jones proceeding in this matter. One little thing here before we go to the break. There's a fascinating story today in the Los Angeles Times, my friends. 2 days after the 1996 election, Senator Russell Feingold was home in Middleton, Wisconsin, surfing the TV channels in search of election analysis when the President of the United States called with a question that set his pulse racing. Now, this is 2 days after the 96 election, and this is Feingold of McCain-Feingold. After a mind-numbing discussion of the details of Feingold's ambitious proposal to revamp the nation's campaign finance laws, the president dropped a bombshell. Said the president, quote, I'm thinking about calling a special session of Congress to address the issue. And he wanted Feingold's reaction. Feingold thought, the Republicans aren't going to like that. But why not give it a shot anyway? It'd be a master stroke, said Feingold. Maybe so, but Feingold will never have a chance to find out. And the reason says a lot about why the Senate left campaign finance reform for dead last week, even though a huge majority of the voting public seems to favor it. Just a few months after Clinton's phone call, Feingold's balloon was punctured when he mentioned the possibility of a special congressional session to Rahm Emanuel, a top Clinton advisor. Emanuel knew nothing about the idea. It was then that Feingold realized the president had dropped the bombshell, apparently without telling anyone on his staff that he had even suggested it. In that case, Feingold wondered, how deep was Clinton's commitment to the cause? Well, we can ask Harold Ickes. Harold Ickes in the New York Times Sunday magazine a couple weeks ago. Clinton doesn't care about campaign finance reform. It's all for show. He doesn't care about it. His purely altruistic. He had even told his staff he's trying to get Feingold all revved up about this, but didn't tell anybody on his staff that he was thinking about calling Congress into a special session. We also, ladies and gentlemen, were informed last week that Tom Daschle, who is one of the leading proponents of campaign finance reform in the United States Senate, took a whole bunch of contributors to the top of Mount Rushmore. Ordinary citizens can't go there. But if you were able to fork over $5,000, then Senator Daschle would take you up there. Now, what's interesting about this are two things, actually maybe even more than that are, to me, exceptionally interesting about this. One is the Democrats drag out this tape of Reagan. They got this tape of Reagan where Reagan supposedly is soliciting funds in the White House. Now, stop and think. The Democrats have turned over how many documents and pages, how many rocks to find that one tape of Reagan? And how fast did they find that one tape of Reagan? They found it like that. They can't find tapes for 6 months that they made in the White House of the president conducting these coffees. And by the way, have you noticed the president talks about these White House films? It's to avoid any comparison with Watergate tapes. I think, we've got a whole, they don't call fundraisers fundraisers. Well, we had some coffees. I mean, they're really, really toying with the language. Anyway, here's Daschle for the past 2 months on a mission for campaign finance reform. And just last month, he is out doing exactly what he claims to be against. He's saying, you want to go to the top of Mount Rushmore? Fine, give me $5,000. That's not what Reagan did. Reagan didn't charge anybody in advance and say, all right, after that, we can get you into the White House to listen to me make a speech. The Eagles were people who had contributed. These are the heavy Republican contributors. They contributed regularly for a number of years, and Reagan brings them in on the last month of his, last 3 or 4 months of his presidency to thank them. And then make some allusion to the fact that I know you'll continue to help in the future. It's a thank you thing. With Daschle, it was last month, and it was $5,000 in advance. And would you like to know who happened to be among his guests? His guest list included representatives of Philip Morris. You know what Philip Morris is? They make cigarettes. They make cancer sticks. They make the product that is the most evil substance on earth today. And there's Tom Daschle taking a Philip Morris lobbyist up to the top of Mount Rushmore after accepting $5,000. And these guys in the same breath are out criticizing the current campaign finance structure. And they say, well, our other side is doing it. Our opponents are doing it. We have to keep up. No, Senator Daschle, it's called leadership. If your way is better, if you can clean up the so-called polluted campaign system, then show us how. Show us how you would do it. Go ahead if it's more pure, if it's cleaner, if it is straighter, and if it will improve the system. Don't wait around for the other side to agree to do it with you so you can then break those new laws. Do it now, Senator Daschle. Show us the virtue in your new idea. But don't sit there and act like you're fed up with the current system and then go out and exercise this scam to get people to pay you $5,000 to go to the top of Mount Rushmore. And then to have a tobacco lobbyist while sitting around criticizing tobacco and admonishing people to stop. He's taking $5,000 from Philip Morris. Take a break here, folks. We'll be back in a moment.
You're listening to the EIB Network.
While the sheer number of websites and web pages continues to grow, is the World Wide Web maturing? This is Tech Nation.
I mean, I think you've got roughly, depending on whose statistics you want to believe, but if you average them out, you've got maybe 15, at the outside, 20 million homes in this country connected to a modem and a PC in a country of a population of 280 million. So the penetration, and you've got sort of a 40% penetration of PCs into homes right now. So you've got either a lot of room to grow, which is the way we like to see it, and a market that continues to just surprise each of us in its pace of growth. But I think that not the question of when will it mature, but what will maturity be identified as might be more interesting. In other words, is it that we see our page views declining? Is it that we see our revenues declining? Is it, because ultimately right now we're measured on this funny metric called page views, which is one of the few places that Wall Street can grasp on and hold on to a handle to define who's on their way up and who's moving sideways and who's on their way down.
George Bell is the CEO of Excite, a leading information website. He sees that the standard definitions of a mature business don't necessarily apply to the internet.
When will we define the notion that we've captured a customer? Is it 2 visits per week? And do those visits need to be 30 minutes in length? We each have now capacities to track a lot of that kind of information and behavior on our sites, but we're still trying to settle in on this notion of what will maturity be represented by, because market inflections occur when you feel that you've got a customer base that's stable, upon which you will then segment more of your business to your loyal customers and worry a little less about the marginal customers whose churn you can't control.
And if there's something you can't control, it's the World Wide Web. For Tech Nation, I'm Moira Gunn.
Learning in Toyland. This is Soundbites and I'm Jan Ziff. Learning in Toyland from Fisher-Price is a new CD-ROM for 3-year-olds. There are all sorts of things to do, from painting and crafts.
Hiya, Van Gogh here. Ready to be artists and create wonderful masterpieces?
To learning to tell time.
1 o'clock. 2 o'clock. 3 o'clock.
For boys, there are games with cars. For girls, there's learning to count with a baking game.
You need sugar, flour, milk, vanilla, eggs.
And there's even a hidden visit to an old pirate friend.
Ahoy!
Lots to do with some excellent games. Makes Learning in Toyland a good title. I'm Jan Ziff with Soundbites.
In our jolly young, we have lots of fun as we sail the deep blue sea.
Things appear to be heating up, ladies and gentlemen, for Attorney General Janet L. Reno. She's on Meet the Press yesterday with Tim Russert. And contrary to what everybody thought, she says the president is still under investigation. But given the incompetence of the Justice Department's investigation, the president, I'm sure, is not sweating it. Scott in West Palm Beach, Florida, hello, and welcome to the El Rushbo Show. Hello.
Thank you, Rush. Good afternoon.
Thank you.
Hey, I thought you might like to know, as we speak, I'm installing Smart Attorney onto my powerful Gateway 2000 PC.
You're installing Smart Attorney?
Yeah, I heard about it on your program.
Okay.
You're not familiar with them?
I'm familiar with them. It's a weird thing for you to say.
Well, I was really excited. I think it's going to do my business a lot of good. It's kind of an oxymoron, Smart Attorney, but what I see so far is nice. But on to my subject that I called about. I'm by no means an authority on this, so please enlighten me if you can offer me some insight.
Glad to, sir. Glad to. Happy to help.
This Cassini satellite launch.
Yeah.
It makes me very nervous.
Shouldn't.
The notion of putting plutonium up there, I mean, I realize statistically the
plutonium
probabilities of anything going wrong are extremely slim, but
you are far safer with plutonium being launched from Cape Canaveral than you are getting in your car.
Is that right?
Oh, statistically, there's no question about it.
But is there a possibility whatsoever that, as they say, it could end civilization?
No, it can't. It will not end civilization. There's not a possibility that it'll end civilization. Cassini is a project, by the way, where they're going to Jupiter or Saturn. It's way, way out there.
Saturn.
72 pounds just to provide power for the little spacecraft to get out there. The people from the Jet Propulsion Laboratory who helped design the Cassini project they're going to have their families at the launch site. They're so proud of it. They're bringing their families in to watch this. We've launched plutonium into space before. I don't think we've done so in this quantity, but you've got the anti-nuke, that crowd. I'm glad to see them not. Frankly, I was a little bit worried they had gone underground, never to return. I'm glad to see the anti-nuke bunch show up again. I love those people. They make for some fun times. Don't sweat it, Scott. Don't worry about it. Launch is scheduled for Wednesday now. It's supposed to go up at 4:55 this morning. They had a computer glitch, and I think some high winds, and they say they're not going to be able to get to it till Wednesday. So you got a couple more days of peace. Well, a day and a half. Then you start worrying again on Wednesday, but it'll be fine. You ask, I'm not worried. It frankly doesn't concern me at all, and I wouldn't start wringing your hands and get all worried about this just because a bunch of fearmongers and crisis creators are out there trying to drum up an agenda way beyond Cassini. It has nothing to do with this. They're just anti-anything that has to do with nuclear power of any kind. Quick break. Back with more in a moment. Stay with us.
You're listening to the EIB Network.
A website, ladies and gentlemen, the Marshall Space Flight Center, which is an arm of NASA, and there's an interesting page you can find if you go to the Marshall Space Flight Center website called Accurate Thermometers in Space, and it is scientific revelations of the satellite data that are taking temperatures of the actual atmosphere where the global warming is supposed to be occurring because of all those noxious gases. And the bottom line is that there's some cooling going on in the atmosphere now, and there has been the last 20 years, not really a whole lot of warming. Details coming up, and a lot more. Stay right where you are. We'll be right back with you.